Why is this football and this soccer? Americans get a lot of flack for calling this sport soccer, especially from our British cousins. But it was actually the Brits who developed the term soccer, and even used it widely well into the 1970s. There's a reason, after all, that nearly all former British colonies call the sport soccer. Originally, in the early 1800s, football was a sport with only loosely agreed upon rules. Different English boarding schools emphasized different styles of the sport. While Eton focused on dribbling the ball with one's feet, Rugby, another school, focused on a more physical carry and tackle style of play. Eventually, these styles became too incompatible, and rules for two different sports were formalized: rugby football and association football. These are long and cumbersome names, so naturally, nicknames evolved. Rugby football was called rugger, or just rugby, and association football was called a soccer, and eventually just soccer. Meanwhile, Yale in the late 1800s developed its own version of football, of rugby football, which eventually became known as American football. As the terms soccer and rugby became internationally recognized, in English, only new versions of football, like American and Australian football, were known as football anymore. But even though they spread the terms around the world, in Britain, the terms soccer and rugby were only popular with the upper classes. So as the class divides in Britain shrank after World War II, the working class's preferred term football, for their preferred sport, regained popularity, and eventually replaced soccer. Anyway, this confusion is mostly an English problem. Most of the world only ever adopted the foot-oriented version anyway. So soccer, association football, is the only football most places have ever much played. So when it comes to the soccer or football debate, the term soccer is technically more correct. At least, it more specifically means the sport played with one's feet.